How's it going, guys? Brian Danoff here, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the elephant in the room, the Manny Machado saga, and how it's become something I just can't really believe is happening. Um, Now, in my last video, or actually the video before that, while talking about the James Paxton trade, I went into a little bit of a discussion about Machado and Harper, and I said that, and I still believe it, that they aren't necessities, they are luxuries. That the Yankees, as they're currently constructed, are well equipped, are very capable, and of doing very well this season, and potentially even winning the World Series. Especially when you consider the upgrades they've made. They have upgraded the team when you consider the roster they had on opening day. They have J Happ back for a full season. They have Zach Britton back for a full season. They have James Paxton now in the rotation. They have now they have DJ LeMahieu for some reason. I'll get into that. So I thought that yes, the Yankees, it's fair to want Machado, it's fair to want Harper, but don't be upset if the Yankees don't get them because they'll be fine without them. And I do still believe that. But when I said that, I was under the assumption that the Yankees were at least going to try to get Machado and or Harper. But what we're seeing now, obviously, is that the Yankees aren't even trying to get either of them. And that is where I start to get very frustrated and surprised and disappointed with the Yankees. Now, again, I said I don't think they need them. But I said that because I assumed they were going to try to get them, and if they fell short, if they just couldn't seal the deal, and one of them or both of them chose different teams, it'd be okay. And I think it would be. And I think the Yankees fans would kind of understand. I really do. Because you think back, 9 years ago now, the winter of 2010, going into 2011, everyone thought Cliff Lee would be a Yankee. The Yankees fans wanted Cliff Lee. They had watched him dominate them in the postseason 2 consecutive years. And the Yankees were like, yeah, no, we get you. We want him too. We're going to try to get him. We really want him. In fact, we're going to offer him the most money and the most years than any other team. But guess what? It just didn't fall the Yankees' way. The Phillies swooped in. They offered Cliff Lee a contract. As you hear a plane flying over my head because I live very close to Logan Airport in Boston. But Cliff Lee, again, chooses the Phillies. And I think while Yankees fans were upset and the Yankees were upset, the Yankees fans understood. Well, look, it's not really the Yankees' fault. The Yankees did everything they could. Cliff Lee just didn't want to play in New York for whatever reason, and he wanted to go back to Philadelphia for whatever reason. And that's the way it happened. But you look at now, and Yankees fans are very upset and very frustrated, and they're pissed off. If you see on Twitter, and if you ask the average Yankees fan, they are pissed off, and it's because the Yankees are just sitting on their ass, or rather, Hal Steinbrenner is sitting on his ass. The inaction is startling. It's honestly just confusing and unbelievable. Because, again, this is the Yankees. And not only is this the Yankees, this is the winter after the Red Sox beat the Yankees in the playoffs and won their 4th World Series in the last 15 years. And now we're in the year 2019. And you know what 2019 is the anniversary of? It's the 10-year anniversary of the Yankees' last World Series championship, 2009. Before that, 2000. So that's 2 World Series in almost 20 years. Red Sox have 4 in 15. And the Yankees had They won in '09. They couldn't win in the playoffs after that. They started missing the playoffs. A-Rod became a saga. Jeter retired. Rivera retired. Pettit retired. They got slow. They got old. They had Ellsbury on an albatross contract, and they still do, of course. They were a mess of a franchise come 2015, 2016. An absolute mess. And Brian Cashman convinces Hal Steinbrenner to rebuild. He convinces him to trade Andrew Miller, Aroldis Chapman, Carlos Beltran, to let the kids play, to not trade the kids, to let them develop, to let them grow. And what happens in 2017? The Yankees win 91 games, almost won the division in the end. They go to within one game of the World Series with a team that is very young, very inexperienced, and not complete. There were a lot of holes on the 2017 Yankees. They didn't have strong enough starting pitching. They didn't have great situational hitters. But they got all the way to Game 7 of the ALCS. And they a couple things go differently. They would have been in that World Series against the Dodgers. They get rid of Joe Girardi. Giancarlo Stanton falls into their laps. They hire Aaron Boone. They win 100 games in 2018. Things go wrong. There's injuries. There's some really big rotation questions. And again in the playoffs, the situational hitting doesn't come through, and the Yankees appear to be a little home run reliant, and so we feel this. Okay, the Yankees they've rebuilt, they've shedded payroll, they've gotten under the luxury tax, and now the Red Sox win a World Series, and regardless of that, well, now is a time for the Yankees to finally put together their master team, to build the team that they envisioned 3-4 years ago when they decided to start rebuilding and reshaping the team. This is the year to become, once again, not the Yankees, but the New York Yankees. The evil empire. And I get it, the Death Star analogy that Brian Cashman made, saying you're a fully operational Death Star, kind of a bad one because guess what? The Death Star blew up twice. But this is the offseason where the Yankees should have been making the big moves. Because they had gotten under the luxury tax. And by all intents and purposes, that was supposed to be for this winter. The Yankees never said that publicly, but I don't blame the fans for thinking that. I really don't. Because what other reason would you be shedding payroll? Hal Steinbrenner, you shed payroll to then add more payroll, to put it back into the team. That's what other teams do. That's what the Yankees had done in previous years. They shedded payroll after 2013, and they signed Jacoby Ellsbury, and they signed Masahiro Tanaka, and they signed Brian McCann and Carlos Beltran. So, here they are with this. The Red Sox just won the World Series. They need to answer back. The Yankees also they're building off of an 100-win team. So think of how good they already are and still are today. And what a Machado or a Harper would do to this franchise. Obviously, they don't need help becoming a big franchise or becoming, recognized around the world. They already are. They always will be from this point on. They have the superstars already. Yeah, they have Aaron Judge. They have Stanton. They have, those are the two big guys. But I wouldn't call anyone else particularly superstars. But you get my point. And instead of making the big moves, and instead of doing what most Yankees fans expected, first of all, they started the offseason by re-signing CC Sabathia and Brett Gardner to deals that pretty much guaranteed them starting spots when they're both pushing 40. And again, I love CC, I love Gardner, I love both of them. But then, that fills up a rotation spot. So the Yankees had to stop after getting Paxton and Happ, or it seems like they will. They have too many starters right now, too many Major League veteran starters to add another one. They re-signed Brett Gardner, so that crowds up the outfield. So now the Yankees have an excuse not to go after Bryce Harper because they re-signed 35-year-old Brett Gardner to be the starting left fielder again after hitting like 240. And then they re-signed Happ. They re-signed Britton. They bring in Paxton. They sign Troy Tulowitzki. And you're thinking, oh, is this kind of a signal they're out of Machado? No, it's not. It's not, because he's going to start at shortstop. So that means Machado will play third base. Oh, I get it. The Yankees are still... And then they signed 3 days ago DJ LeMahieu. Now, DJ LeMahieu is a really good Major League player. In a vacuum, he is a solid addition to the Yankees. He hits he's a contact hitter, hits the ball the opposite way, doesn't strike out, plays tremendous defense. Certain statistics have him in the upper echelon of Major League Baseball. Like he is a top 30, top 20 talent when he is on. Really good player. But to sign him while you're allegedly negotiating with Machado sent really mixed signals. And now it appears that the Yankees, even though they met with Machado, they toured him, they showed him around Yankee Stadium, they went out to dinner with him for a reported 3-4 hours in New York City that night. Even though they did all that, the Yankees apparently haven't done anything since. Since the new year. Just silence. Nothing. No communication with Machado. And again, I don't know if I've said this already, but things could change. And maybe not everyone, doesn't seem like anyone truly has a full grasp on the situation. Machado could still end up with the Yankees. Harper could still end up with the Yankees. But from the people we trust, from the reporters we trust, the sources, the insiders, they're all saying the Yankees are not talking to Machado and they are not talking to Harper anymore. And it's inexcusable. I think it has to be. There is no excuse. There is absolutely no excuse not to go after a guy like Harper or Machado. You notice how every team in the NBA will do everything in their power to bring in a guy like LeBron James. You'll see this summer, will do everything in their power to bring in a guy like Kevin Durant. Doesn't matter if they're not contending. Doesn't matter if they already have someone technically penciled in at that position. If you want LeBron James, you go out and get him because he's LeBron James. And when is someone like that available? And it doesn't matter if he doesn't necessarily fit the roster. You will win with him. You will win with LeBron. You will be a better team with Machado or Harper. Spare no expense. And not only I'm not trying to just chastise the Yankees here, because it's a problem with all major league teams. I tweeted it last night. You can follow me on Twitter at Brian T. Danoff, T, as in my middle name Thomas. This should have been a LeBron James level of free agent frenzy. There should have been 5, 6, 7, 8 teams in on these guys, all bidding and all trying to fight and recruit these two generational talents. And instead we have this really slow, really boring kind of, the White Sox and the Phillies are trying to see if they can outlast each other so they can get the best possible lowest deal for Machado. And the Phillies are kind of trying to negotiate with fight with the Nationals rather to sign Harper as well. And teams like the Dodgers, teams like the Cubs, the Red Sox, the Yankees, the Astros, they're not even the Atlanta Braves, the Mets. They're not even talking to these guys. They're not even trying to. This is a bad situation, and I think it's a real indication of where MLB is right now. It's in trouble. It's clear as day. Owners don't care if their teams are good. They don't care if a player is worth a certain amount of money. They won't give it to them. The way MLB is structured now, you make your money if you're an owner from TV deals. You don't care if the seats are full. You don't care if the team is particularly good. You have that money coming from those networks, and you just don't care about the on-field product. And we see that time and time again. And we see that, that's part of the reason why teams will just tank for 3-4 years, because they know it really won't hurt their bottom line. And granted, for teams like the Astros and the Cubs, no, it paid off on the field. They're good teams and they've won World Series. So have the Red Sox. But there should never be a point where you just decide, oh, we're done making improvements. We're done trying to bring superstars to your team. What? No. I mean, yes, baseball's a team sport, of course. It's way more of a team sport than probably any other sport. Because you can win in the NFL with a great quarterback and a great wide receiver and a great cornerback. You can win in the NBA, of course, with one superstar. You can win in the NHL. It is a team sport, but baseball, you need to have a good team. You can't do it all with superstars, but boy, in this league, do they help. There was a big difference between a Manny Machado and a DJ LeMahieu. There's a big difference between a 35-year-old Brett Gardner and a 26-year-old Bryce Harper. So, it's and again, I'm not saying the Yankees need them. They do not need them, but they should have at least been in on them. And it's very disappointing if you're a Yankees fan, and I get it. I really do get it. And yes, the Yankees again will be good next year. They should win close to 100 games again, and if they're healthy and if things break right, yeah, they could win a World Series next year. They really, really could, or this year. But they had a chance to become, I read in The Athletic, I think it was, I don't forget who wrote it, the Yankees had the chance to become Major League Baseball's Golden State Warriors. You sign Harper or Machado, they are a not just, they're heads and shoulders above the next team. They just are. I'm sorry, Red Sox. I'm sorry, Astros. They were that's all, that move would have put them over the top by quite a lot. And obviously it's tough to have a dynasty anymore in baseball. I'm not saying the Yankees would guaranteed win 5 World Series with Machado or Harper or both. But I like their chances more with Harper or Machado than I do without them. And it's just I can't put it into words how just unusual it is to see Hal Steinbrenner not spend money on his team. And it's ironically it shouldn't be too surprising because there's been people who've been crunching the numbers, and yeah, the Yankees have been spending less and less on their team since like 2004, 2005 in terms of how much money they make. The Yankees have never made more money, and they've never spent less on their team. Think about that. It's very interesting. And I think if they don't sign Machado or Harper, if they just, they do what it seems like they're going to do and just not even try and just let Machado and Harper go to other teams, maybe to the same team, maybe Philadelphia gets them both. There is some serious explaining to do if you're the Yankees and if you're Hal Steinbrenner. And again, I don't think any of this really falls on Brian Cashman. I think giving out a contract of this size is really an ownership decision. So this is coming from Steinbrenner directly. He is telling Cashman, no, do not engage. Let Machado go. We're fine. I don't want to spend too much money on this team. And look, I get the luxury tax is annoying to pay, but it's pennies compared to everything. Compared to the money he's making, compared to the money the team's making, and compared to the success they're having, or they would have. So it's again, I can only say it so many times. It's just very interesting and very disappointing. That's about all I can really say about this situation. Again, maybe stranger things have happened. The Yankees swoop in, they come to their senses, they sign Machado, they sign Harper, they sign both of them, and everyone's happy in Yankee land, and the Yankees are a juggernaut again, and they are, close to perfect as you can get in Major League Baseball. But that doesn't seem to be the case. The Yankees will go with a makeshift infield without D. Gregorius, without, Miguel Andujar can't play third base. First base is a question mark with Luke Voigt and Greg Bird, Who knows you're going to get out of them? Who knows if Gary Sanchez bounces back? You know, you hope Aaron Judge stays healthy. You hope Stanton has a better year and stays healthy as well. The pitching staff, you know, there's enough question marks where a World Series is not guaranteed. And if the Yankees don't win one this year or next year or the year after that, and they have to, you know, they lose some of these guys to free agency and they're not, you know, they come back down to earth and they hover around 500 again, and not signing Machado and Harper might be a big reason why that didn't happen. So thanks for listening, guys. I really appreciate it. And let me know what you guys think. I mean, how are you reacting? Do you really not think the Yankees should be in on Machado? Do you think they're good? They're right to avoid him? They're right to avoid Harper? It's one thing to not want Machado, but to not want Harper is also, you know, you should want one or the other, at least, if you're a Yankees fan. You really should. If you're a baseball fan, too. I'd feel terrible, too, if I was a fan of another team that wasn't as good. You know? The Braves are a Bryce Harper away from going from a 90-win team to a 100-win team. You know, there's a lot that can change. Harper and Machado can change a lot for a lot of different teams. But it doesn't appear that there's just not even really a race for either of them. And it's an issue, and it's a big issue, and it's a black hole on baseball, and not a black hole, a black eye. And you wonder what happens as the CBA gets closer to expiring, and players aren't getting paid what they deserve, and owners aren't putting money into their teams. It's a tough situation, and I think the last thing baseball needs right now is a strike. But it seems like that's where it's going. So it's a shame because there's so many. It's such an easy fix. You know, there's so many ways to avoid a strike and so many ways to work out their differences and fix the system and keep fans engaged and keep fans happy. But MLB, the Yankees, they're just not doing it. So we'll see what that means for the future. But for now, that's it. We'll see where Machado and Harper end up, and then spring training starts in about a month, and I'm sure Brian Cashman, Aaron Boone, Hal Steinbrenner will have plenty of questions to answer. So thanks for listening, and have a good night.